Welcome to Arkansas. In this video, we'll spend 3 days exploring the beautiful natural state. We'll journey through the history and nature of the Ozarks, stopping at the country's first national river. We'll walk in the footsteps of the Little Rock Nine and take a dip into Arkansas's only national park. We'll see the Wild West, Civil War battles, and even the spot where Elvis got his famous buzz cut. We'll eat at local diners as well as clubs where mobsters partied. To see the Ozark Mountains and mountains of nachos, join us for a trip through Arkansas. My name is Matt, and in December of 2023, I did this 3-day road trip through western Arkansas with my sister. We loved the mix of history and nature on this trip, and if you're interested in doing this road trip, I'll provide a few resources at the end of this video. Okay, we're driving through rural Arkansas right now, and we have heard about Corsi's smoked meats. This is supposedly the best bacon in the state. Corsi's has been smoking meat with hickory wood since 1945. This no-frills shop is located on Highway 65 in St. Joe's, Arkansas, making it an easy roadside stop. But you don't even have to visit to taste the goodness. Most of their business is shipped. Just call them to place an order for your Christmas ham.
And it was really good.
It was very
So
good.
we're gonna eat it just like that.
Yeah, we just got a little bit. That little store had like 8 people working in it, and this little town has a population of 130. We were kind of wondering who's all going in there, but sure enough, people went in there and they knew them by name. Okay, we're now here at Buffalo National River, a national park site here in Arkansas. Buffalo National River is a national park site and was the first national river in the United States. This is located in a pretty little area on the bend of the river. This is called the Tyler Bend Visitor Center, one of 2 visitor centers here at Buffalo National River. This is a national river because they wanted to save it from being dammed. I didn't even know national rivers were a thing, but apparently this was the first of 4 in the country. There are over 400 national park sites that are administered by the National Park Service. You think of like the big 63 national parks, but there are several other national rivers, national roads, memorials, monuments, and things like that. We've always been interested in going to all of them. So if we're ever in an area that has sites, we're always looking up on the National Park Service app to see if we can make a trip to one of these. These little brochures always have a map of the area. It's 153 miles long and has some of the finest waterfalls east of the Rockies. I was kind of wondering what one does at a national river. Apparently rafting the river is big, and the best time to do so is March to June when spring runoff is high. You can also do some hiking. My sister and I hiked a little trail to an overlook of the river valley. My understanding is this would all be a lake, like Table Rock Lake up in Branson, if they had dammed it. This trail had an interesting settlement that was one of the last land claims under the Homestead Act. 1928, this couple settled this land, and it was some of the last unclaimed land of the Louisiana Purchase. Tin roof here, low ceilings, no chinking in the logs. My sister just said it seems like it would be cold living here. That's pretty crazy. As late as the 1920s, people were still able to find a little bit of free land out there. Bee Branch, Arkansas. I love driving through small towns, and rural Arkansas has plenty. Bee Branch was named due to a large beehive in a tree near the post office, and today has 290 residents. Time to grab a bite to eat at the popular Arkansas chain David's Burgers. This is known for serving fresh, never frozen beef and unlimited French fries. I can get behind that. The staff walks around with a bucket of fries to refill you as needed. This 1950s style diner has won several local awards for best burgers in Central Arkansas. So at home we have fry sauce. A lot of places are kind of making their own fry sauce again.
I got a grilled cheese, and it's a bun, like a hamburger bun, inside out.
That's the grilled cheese.
In between. This is kind of funny. I laugh.
That is pretty funny. I kind of like that. Up next is one of the most historically significant high schools in the entire country due to its role in the civil rights movement. A dramatic scene unfolded here over 3 weeks as the school tried to desegregate, and at first the National Guard was called in to prevent it, and then President Eisenhower over here called in the Army to enforce the desegregation. The school selected 9 black students to break the color barrier. On opening day, the Arkansas governor called in the Arkansas National Guard to prevent the students from entering the school. It was a bit of a zoo, as several reporters and community members were there to witness or take part in the event. So the first day the children showed up and the National Guard turned them away from school, so they spent 2 weeks at home just kind of ducking for cover until Eisenhower issued an order that the Army would be on hand to enforce the desegregation. So here's the Army in some of the scenes from that day. After Eisenhower called in the troops, the students entered the school and completed the extremely difficult first year of integration. The resistance continued, with the governor even closing all schools the next year as a last gasp attempt to prevent integration. Okay, so several images on these here of the events, and then across the street is the school. And then over here across the street from the school is a gas station used by the media during the whole event and used to be the visitor center here until the new one was built in 2007. We are here on a Saturday. There's nobody here. Just me and my sister wandering around the high school. No students, no visitors. There are benches all around this pond here dedicated to the Little Rock Nine. And then over here is a 10th bench dedicated to the past, present, and future students at Little Rock Central High School. In 1999, the Little Rock Nine were presented with a Congressional Gold Medal by President Bill Clinton, who himself was from Arkansas. Of course, we got to get our picture by the sun, and I did get my brochure for my collection. Speaking of Bill Clinton, we're now at the William J. Clinton Presidential Library in Little Rock. There are 15 presidential libraries in the country, and this is the largest. It houses 2 million photographs, 80 million pages of documents, and 79,000 artifacts from his presidency, such as Hillary Clinton's dresses, gifts from foreign dignitaries, whatever this thing is, and Bill's saxophones. Okay, it was so cool. We just saw the replica of the Oval Office and spent forever talking to the guy there. I wish I could share everything he shared with us. It was awesome. I got to sit at the desk. This is the second presidential office I've been to. I went to the Nixon Library in California. Now I am at the Bill Clinton Library here in Arkansas. Okay, these blue boxes here within these columns are all over the place, you see, but they only represent 2 to 3% of all the documents in the archives here. That is why I gave up on being a historian, because way too much work to go through that many archives. They also have an exhibit here on the Little Rock Nine. The museum looks out over the Arkansas River with that little walking bridge. Of course, they have a room about the impeachment. The presidential limousine, 1993. Okay, so I just finished going through the museum here, and my general take on this is I was probably a little disappointed by it. It was only $12, which isn't that much. The Oval Office portion was, to me, the best part because the guide made it really interesting. I do think if you get here during the right time, they will actually give you a tour of the whole place. I would highly recommend that so that you get just a little bit more of a context without having to read like every little thing on the timeline there. This was okay. It wasn't as good as the Richard Nixon Library in California. Also disappointed that the dress wasn't in there. They never talked about the scandal in his own library. We're now out for a walk on, I think they call this the Presidential Bridge over the Arkansas River. This is the Clinton Presidential Park Bridge. Okay, from the bridge here, we got a nice shot of the river and the skyline over there. This is the Arkansas River behind me. Funny thing is, earlier this year, I was in Colorado, right where the Arkansas River begins. All right, very cool. I'm not sure I've ever seen a state capitol building all lit up like this. Got a Santa with a big old Christmas tree, and it's all right here in the rotunda. The Arkansas Capitol Building was the 30th Capitol building in the country, completed in 1915. It was built on a former prison site, and some of the labor was done by convicts. Every December, they put Christmas lights on the building and a massive Christmas tree in the rotunda. Been to several of these state capitals before, and they all have these little self-guided tours to go through the building. This building was designed by the same man who did the Minnesota State Capitol, which is funny because I just happened to visit that one just a few months earlier. As far as Capitol buildings go, it's on the smaller side. The exterior was made from granite from Arkansas and limestone from Indiana. The interior has marble from Vermont and Alaska. They intentionally got the columns from Colorado because that's where the Arkansas River begins. I learned quite a bit about the state of Arkansas from some of the displays in here. Just learned that Arkansas is the natural state. So the state flag was originally this design here with 3 stars representing that Arkansas belonged to 3 countries, France, Spain, and the United States. Also, that it was the 3rd state created out of the Louisiana Purchase. The 24 stars around here represent that it was the 24th state admitted to the Union, and the diamond represented that it was the only state that produced diamonds in the country. On the Capitol grounds here is a statue or 9 statues dedicated to the Little Rock Nine. I was kind of surprised to see they weren't over near the historical site, but they are here on the Capitol grounds. The statue is called Testament. Welcome to Hot Springs National Park. Hot Springs National Park is located in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It became a resort town in the 1830s due to the hot springs. People came here in hopes that the hot springs would cure what ailed them. Several bathhouses were built to provide spa services to visitors. Today, these bathhouses are part of the national park. The park also includes the surrounding mountains, but funny enough, the town of Hot Springs is not in the national park. You can see that the national park map looks kind of like a donut. Our first stop is downtown, where we learned that around here, it's a thing to drink the natural hot spring water. Okay, we're now in downtown Hot Springs, Arkansas. All these houses across the way here are bathhouses. These are all part of the national park. Some of them are historic buildings, some of them are still being used as bathhouses. Here's Bathhouse Row, and I guess Hot Springs, Arkansas was kind of like the first resort town in the U.S. Hot spring water coming out. Okay, Heather says this is really hot. Yeah.
Put your fingers in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. All minerally.
It doesn't smell.
You can see a lot of people behind me are filling up their water bottles at this little fountain here. The lady at the hotel was a riot. She told me this is where all the visitors go to fill up their fountains. The locals go to a different one that's more fresh, because this one, it takes 2,000 years to get to the surface apparently, and the other fountain, it only takes 500 years to get to the surface, so it's much more fresh.
Came over to the hot springs fountain that people take the water to drink it. Warm water. It's not cold. It's warm and almost hot.
You should drink warm water. Is it minerally tasting?
No, it's not minerally tasting.
Really?
Yeah, it just kind of tastes like bottled water.
Okay, I gotta try this now. Huh, not mineral tasting. Ooh, just at the end there, I had a little aftertaste. That's weird. This is Bathhouse Row, where several historical bathhouses are located. Before modern medicine, people came to Hot Springs, Arkansas on doctor's orders for spa treatments in these bathhouses. Think of this as water being used as medicine. Visitors, or patients, had to show their doctor's prescription before receiving treatment. Treatments might last a few hours as the patient would be taken from one hydrotherapy to another. This is the golden age of bathing here. Each of these bathhouses has a name. This is the Lamar Bathhouse, named after the same guy that Lamar Valley is named after in Yellowstone. And here are the Buckstaff baths. Look how fancy that is. This is an actual business where you can get a spa and massage and all that. This is the Quapaw Bathhouse, the tallest of them, named after the Quapaw Indians in the region here. This is the Fordyce Bathhouse, and it is now the National Park's Visitor Center. They've got the cooling room here. This is called the pack room. They'd pack them with like hot or cold packs here. All right, here's one of the tubs they would soak in. Looks pretty disgusting today. They sit in these hydrotherapy room. Another shower, that's what I'm talking about. That would be awesome. Okay, this is the steam cabinet room. Actually, I think that'd be kind of fun. This is the men's bathhouse, which is significantly larger than the women's. Me and my sister think it's weird that these people wanted somebody to bathe them. The video said it takes rainwater 8,000 years to get down to the center of the earth here, and then it comes up very quickly and pops out at about 143 degrees around here. Enough water comes out of the hot springs to generate 13 bathtubs of water every minute. This room was a fancy parlor where they would hang out and socialize. Okay, now this is awesome. This is the gymnasium. This reminds me of the Mandelbaum brothers in Seinfeld, the old-time gymnasium. Okay, we got a medicine ball, dumbbells, punching bag, and a variety of other crazy contraptions. Hot Springs, Arkansas was the first city that Major League Baseball used for spring training. And they came here because of the baths and because of the healing waters. And this gymnasium right here was used by Babe Ruth as well as many other Major League Baseball stars. Okay, look at these two cool towers. These were built when it was Hot Springs Reservation. And I have to say, I'm just quite fascinated by this whole area here. You can see how these bathhouses in the city is just tucked away in the mountains right here. Back in the day, not everybody could afford to use the bathhouses. So even though this was set aside for the benefit and enjoyment of everybody, not everybody could afford to do that. So there were a lot of poor people who came here and just set up a makeshift city, Raleigh City, where they had all their tents and stuff, and they just dug out holes to use for the hot springs. Superintendent then came and kicked the poor people out. He was afraid they were kind of making the waters dirty for everybody else. But he did have a heart. He ended up establishing a free bathhouse for the poor people. The only catch was they had to declare they were poor, which was kind of embarrassing for a lot of people. This little walkway behind here is called the Grand Promenade, and was established for those people after they finished the bathing ritual. They would come out here and walk out in nature, finish their little healing process. Today we get to walk the trail as well, and as a national recreational trail. This is one of the few spots where you can just see the water flowing naturally into a little pool here, and does not smell like sulfur like Yellowstone. Okay, I just got done with the Quapaw baths here. These are open baths, so you don't need a reservation to use them. They're just big pools. Each pool has different temperatures. I pretty much just went for the hottest one. Some of them were a little too lukewarm for me. Something you need to know if you were to visit here, the Quapaw baths and the other one down here, I can't remember the name, but they offer individual spa services in a variety of packages. You need to get reservations for those in advance. I think they start at $40 and go up to about $400, something like that. So you can do a variety of those, but if you want to do something like that, you need to get advanced reservations. If you don't have advanced reservations, you can just come and sit in the hot pots here. They're really just like any other kind of hot pot that you might go to. But it is pretty cool to be in these old historic buildings. I liked that a lot. Also, I'm here in December and the crowds are very low. I can imagine those pools would be really packed in the summer. Bathhouses weren't the only draw to Hot Springs, Arkansas. From the 1920s to the 1960s, Hot Springs was the largest illegal gambling operation in the United States. Mobsters set up gambling and moonshine operations here, and many of the bathhouses were actually run by the gangsters. Al Capone stayed at the Arlington Hotel so often that today room 443 is named the Capone. Mobster Bugsy Siegel supposedly got his inspiration for the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas from the resorts in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Well, this is unbelievable. In the 1920s, a U.S. park ranger was killed in the line of duty by bootleggers, and this was the first ranger killed in the line of duty. How sad. To learn more about the mobsters here, you can visit the Gangster Museum of America. We didn't have time to do this, so instead we visited the place where they used to party. Okay, this here is the Ohio Club, which is where a lot of the gangsters like Al Capone went. Speaking of the devil, Al Capone, you were a very bad man. You didn't pay your taxes. Okay, this Ohio Club is also where all the baseball players ate, and they have the original bar in there, so I have to go eat here. All right, very cool looking club here, the Ohio Club. And the little history section here. The menu says that we could be sitting where people like Al Jolson, Sammy Davis Jr., Mae West, Teddy Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover, and Bill Clinton sat. Okay, burger time. So we've driven to the top of the mountain here. The city is surrounded by a couple of mountains that you can drive to the top to. These are in the national park. At the top of this one is a tower that we got some free tickets from our hotel, so we're gonna go to the top. Old-timey poster here.
Many iterations of bathhouses have taken the place of those lost to the various floods and fires of Hot Springs history.
All right, here we go. Ah, great views, wow. Oh, this is beautiful, this is great. Some guy earlier pretty much apologized for their mountains not being like Utah's, but I don't care, this is great. Look at Hot Springs down there, the rolling hills. Bathhouse Road right there. Yeah, look, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hot Springs has a claim to be the first national park in the country. Often Yellowstone is given that credit, and probably rightfully so, but this area was the first federally protected area for the public use. So they protected these hot springs so that people could use them, so the businesses couldn't buy them up and then put them behind a paywall. That is why Yellowstone was created later on, pretty much the same reason. The legislation was a little different, so Yellowstone gets credit for being the first national park, but places like Hot Springs, Arkansas, they kind of make their little claim as well, and it is the oldest unit in the National Park Service. Well, this has been a very fun little stop. I like the little tower and the beautiful panoramic overlooks. Okay, in the tower gift shop here, they have some baseball memorabilia with the Babe Ruth signed ball. I think that's the same one they used in the Sandlot. Hot Springs is the birthplace of spring baseball. They have a walking tour of all the baseball sites in town, like fields where the players train. They actually have specific information about a lot of the players that came through here. This is Dizzy and Daffy Dean, Babe Ruth, several other legends. It started in the 1920s, I believe, and it ended near the end of the 50s. That was the time that the bathhouses were going away because modern medicine was replacing water as medicine. If you're a baseball fan like me, this is a really cool thing to do while you're here. They have a little walking tour that's going to take you around. Okay, we found this parking lot just outside of town here, and there's a couple of signs there for baseball stuff here. This used to be the main baseball field where all the players did their spring training, and here is the location of the home plate. I wish I could go back in time. Okay, so this cracks me up. The parking lot where we were just at is right there. This sign behind me right here says that Babe Ruth hit a home run from back there, the home plate, over, now this is an alligator farm, and hit it this far, it was over 500 feet. Okay, we sat down to order and we saw these ladies next to us had a giant mound of nachos. We had to get the giant mound of nachos. All right, baby, here we go. The nachos, the legendary nachos.
Chicken nachos.
Oh, that is satisfying. Holy cow.
But we got some goodie down in the can.
Holy,
Y'all enjoy.
oh, baby, there it is. Mound of nachos. We are driving to a wonderful little gem called Garvin Woodland Gardens. Okay, we've now driven out to a place that's run by the University of Arkansas, but it's like a huge botanical garden here. And around the holidays, they have told us over 8 million lights. This is more than at Disneyland and more than at Silver Dollar City in Branson, where we were at earlier this trip. Okay, well look at this gorgeous peacock. Holy cow. Very colorful. These gardens were the vision of a woman named Verna Cook Garvin in the 1950s. She spent 40 years transforming this area on the lake into a tranquil garden and natural habitat. We got a little railroad model train village here. Oh, there's Santa. All right, Santa. Okay, over there, that little station, they got some hot chocolate for us. Free. My sister says it looks like she's going into Avatar land. In the 1980s, knowing she would pass on and wanting to leave a legacy, she gifted the land to the University of Arkansas School of Architecture. Since then, they've expanded it, and the university's influence can be seen in this treehouse and in the most well-known structure here, the Anthony Chapel. I would love to visit this during the blooming season, but as you can see, it's also really great at Christmas time. Okay, we got some pandas and bamboo here. Look, there's Kung Fu Panda right there. I like this. You got some origami birds here. Ah, these are cool. Nice and bright. Colorful. More sea creatures here. Very fun. I guess their theme is like under the sea. Now we got a light tunnel. Boom. Now we've moved into flowers and butterflies. All right, little choo-choo train here for the kiddos. Billowing smoke. This trail is about a mile long, is all. And they said that people come from all around. Come these lights. A little musical number with the lights changing. Today is our last day in the state of Arkansas. We have really loved our time here, and this morning we are at Fort Chaffee. This is a military training area here, and what's interesting about this is right behind me here is the place where Elvis got his haircut when he joined the military. Here's where he lost his locks. In 1958, at the height of his popularity, Elvis, the king of rock and roll, was drafted into the army. Elvis was a symbol of rebellious youth, so losing his pompadour hair and getting a standard issue military buzz cut was a symbol of rebelliousness coming into conformity. Elvis reported for duty here at Fort Chaffee, a day his fans called Black Monday. Samson losing his hair. A million reporters here that day, all stuffed into this little barbershop. They're calling it the haircut heard around the world. I love this. Somebody wrote a letter to President Eisenhower saying, "We think it's bad enough to send Elvis Presley in the army, but if you cut his sideburns off, we will just die." Before he left, his very controlling manager kept his career alive by arranging for records and films to be released during his absence. He returned home in 1960 to a hero's welcome. We are now traveling on the True Grit Trail. Highway 22 follows the path of the classic Western novel True Grit by Charles Portis. This area is the inspiration for the story of Maddie Ross, who sets out to avenge her father's death with the help of U.S. Marshal Rooster Cogburn. This was really fun to drive on because I've been to the location where the 1969 movie with John Wayne was filmed in Montrose, Colorado. The True Grit Trail ends at Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is both a town and a National Historic Site. I'm so glad I visited here because I knew nothing about the fascinating history that happened here. There are several movies about Fort Smith, or at least that include it, like True Grit with John Wayne, got Belle Starr, also Clint Eastwood, Hang 'em High. Wow, this is a really cool display of the inside of the fort. At the time this fort was established, it was out on the frontier, and this area was the wild, wild west. Outlaws such as the Dalton Gang and Belle Starr stirred up trouble around here. She was an outlaw who became famous enough to get her own dime novel series. U.S. Marshals attempted to round up these ruffians and clean up the place. The no-nonsense Judge Isaac Parker was appointed to bring some law and order. He became famous as the hanging judge due to the harsh sentences he often handed down. We get to see the courtroom where Parker presided today. I am really very impressed by this. This is one of the better National Park Service visitor centers that I've ever seen. The people he sentenced to prison got to hang out in a dank basement in the fort. Fort Smith was called Hell on the Border. 100 people were sentenced to jail in this room at a time. And this is where they had to go to the bathroom. This is where the soldiers slept, right here. Oh, on this delightful little sleeping pad. So that was a wonderful visitor center, and I did get my little brochure here, which I collect. This is like the 4th one I've gotten on this little trip, so that's pretty cool. All right, this sign says that Judge Parker sentenced 160 people, including 4 women, to be hanged here, and about half of them were actually hung. This is the site where the fort was originally constructed on the banks of the river here, and it was constructed actually to preserve peace between 2 warring Indian tribes. But later, this became the thoroughfare for the Trail of Tears. Across the river is Oklahoma. And so at the time, these were the Indian lands that they had reserved for the 5 civilized tribes. They moved them out here to these new Indian reservations here. Fort Smith was the place that they went through on their way, and then they were ferried across the Arkansas River to those lands over there. Once that happened, a lot of outlaws and stuff came over here, causing a lot of havoc over on the other side of the river there. So that's when they started bringing in the marshals to round them up, and brought in Judge Parker to bring them to justice. One of those marshals was Bass Reeves, who was a former slave and became one of the best marshals for Judge Isaac Parker. If you are in the area, I highly recommend it. It was very educational and enjoyable. Nearby is another fixture of the Wild West, a brothel house. This is Miss Laura's Bordello, and I want you to see what they did here. It's Christmas time, ho ho ho. Oh baby, look at this cool place. Okay, a little table where they got done up, bathtub, closet. Looks like they're honoring Bass Reeves and Judge Parker here, but I'm not sure if they frequented this place. This is the dining room area with a very fancy bar at the end. This is a very cool building and is just beautiful inside for the time period, and it's free. That's pretty awesome. The only drawback today was they weren't doing tours, and the signage isn't great in there to just explore on your own. So it'd be very cool if they were doing tours, and totally worth it because it's free. Prostitution is a major part of the history of the Wild West in America. Okay, Fort Smith got me really interested in the U.S. Marshals that tried to bring law and order to this area. Whoa, baby, we're getting right to it here with a very impressive room on what it means to be a U.S. Marshal. The first 13 marshals were commissioned by George Washington. They do talk about Justice Parker's court here in Fort Smith, of course, and Frederick Douglass becoming the first black U.S. Marshal. 1941, first nationwide badge created. This section is all about the frontier marshals, the Old West. It takes men who are brave to uphold the law here, still today. We've got a whole room devoted to Bass Reeves here, and what's really cool, this Colt single action Army revolver, the only known firearm to be Bass Reeves. This is a saddle used by John Wayne in many parades that he rode in. Wow, incredibly fancy saddle. This room is all about the thankless job of maintaining order during protests. On several occasions it fell to the U.S. Marshals to protect Martin Luther King Jr. Here's where you get to see if you're in good enough shape to be a U.S. Marshal. Here are some movies that have featured U.S. Marshals, including up there on the right, True Grit. This is the Wall of Honor here. These are all U.S. Marshals who have fallen in the line of duty. Well, that was a really wonderful museum and a great tribute to all the U.S. Marshals and law enforcement people out there. I was called to jury duty one year, and I showed up, found out it was a murder trial. A Twilight Zone experience for me. Two men went into the woods at night and killed a homeless man and would have gotten off scot-free. But there was a policeman patrolling the area that night and saw a car parked in the parking lot. I was the lead juror who had to deliver the final decision, which was guilty. And I just remember thinking how incredibly grateful I was to that police officer for doing his job that night and bringing justice to the family of that homeless man who was killed. So I want to give a big thanks to all of you law enforcement personnel out there who do such an incredible job. All right, welcome to Fayetteville, Arkansas. This is the Clinton house. This is where Bill and Hillary lived at one point. Arkansas is into their Bill Clinton historic sites. All right, Fayetteville is my favorite ville. I like that. All right, well, it's about time somebody noticed. Okay, so we are in downtown Fayetteville, the town square right now. Fayetteville is a really cute town. I mean, I think it's very nice here. The University of Arkansas Razorbacks are here, and the campus was beautiful, but there really isn't much going on here at all. It's a Monday in December. Everything is kind of closed down. You can see it's just very dead around here, even down the town square. So we're gonna head out and we're gonna go to Pea Ridge National Military Site. Pea Ridge was the site of a Civil War battle, one of several important battles west of the Mississippi River. The whole point of this battle was to keep Missouri in the Union. The battle took place here because it was on a major supply route. Missouri was one of 4 border states that the North desperately needed to keep in the Union. This Thunder in the Ozarks was a 2-day battle that took place near the beginning of the Civil War. You can learn about the battle by listening to the free online audio tour as you drive the 7-mile loop around the battlefield. Key Ridge is right here on the border, so we're in Arkansas, but it's right by Missouri. Both of these were about keeping Missouri in the Union because they had both South and North sympathies. They were instant battlefields for control of the state. We just went into the visitor center. I got my brochure here, so I've now collected like 4 or 5 on this trip. This ranger right here behind me who's taking down the flag, he just told me a really personal, special story. He has been with the Park Service for 13 years, and he has fought and clawed his way to a full-time job. It is really hard on these park rangers to just get a permanent job where they're not just a seasonal or temp type employee. He loves his job. He has 2 master's degrees in history. I'm always rooting for historians because I have a master's degree in history. So we had a very fun chat. Take a moment to tell them thanks for their service. They are also serving our country. They really have put a lot of work in, and they're not getting paid that much. Okay, we're now out on the battlefield here. This sign is saying that the Southern general was shot and killed here early on in the battle. What I always think is amazing about Civil War battlefields is they were always fought in the open on the farmlands, and then now they're protected as these national battlefields. This is where much of the fighting of the war happened, right here, this tavern. The Elkhorn Tavern became a base of operations for the North during the battle, and today has been restored by the park. Up next is the Walmart Museum, located in Bentonville, Arkansas. This is normally located at the site of Sam Walton's first store, called Walton's 5 and Dime, but the store and the museum are being renovated, so a temporary museum has been set up nearby. Okay, this is the temporary Walmart Museum. Well, I have a hologram here of Sam Walton. You can actually talk to him and he'll talk back, but I guess he's not doing it right at the moment. All right, it looks like they are capitalizing on Barbie mania here. Barbie and Walmart through the years. They have a bunch of Walmart uniforms. What I want to see is the Walmart cheers. Well, it was great to learn about all the ways that Walmart has benefited mankind and Earth in their propaganda museum. This video is part of a larger video of my full road trip through Branson, Missouri and the Ozarks. If you'd like to see the full video, click the video icon on your screen. If you want the itinerary of my full road trip, see the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.